Hello, everybody. This is like an informal episode because we're here. It's been a year of Clatfartburg. We know we make lore that is hard to keep up with, and sometimes, some would say unwelcoming, harsh to new listeners. So we want to go out of our way today to try and make something that can be digestible for a new person. To say, hey, It's been a year. Let's just huddle around the campfire together, and let's give you a quick recap of everything that's been going on.
I'm Elaine.
And I'm Felicia. And that's what we are endeavoring to do today.
Our agenda here is that we're going to kind of do a year in review where we sort of do a nice wrap up of what are the main things that have happened this year and the plot points and characters that have seemed to stay. Like, you know, every one of them is precious and beautiful, but we do have some recurring folks and plot lines that keep coming up. So we thought this would be a good time to refresh you, refresh us, you know, see what's going on. And then also, if you're new, this can kind of be a really quick, like, recap of just the big hits, I guess you could say. So we're not gonna go so in depth detail that you're just like, I already listened to this.
Ourselves to make sure we don't
mostly
do that.
us, because we're gonna get really excited. I feel like it's gonna be giggly. Well, welcome everybody to hello. I'm the secretary for Tor Cobbleton of the mayor. I'm German.
Okay, so Victoria Tori Cobbleton now has a German mayor, and we should not establish lore during the recap section. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, I got scared. Sometimes I'm scared to just be me.
Wow.
Anyway, so episode 1, the first thing we did, the first event of Clatfartburg that was ever actually historically noted,
the annual
from the past.
Crispy Fest. Now,
annual Crispy Fest.
The first thing that's important here: who's Crispy? Crispy is the you know those basses that are on the wall and they talk. Crispy the talking bass is one of those, but he was also in a comic he was from the Sunday Funnies. How do I do this without going so in detail on everything?
I think that's enough. Yeah, I think that's enough.
He's the mascot of the town.
He's just
Everyone's
the town
obsessed
mascot,
with him, and they love him.
Yeah,
that's Crispy.
He's everywhere. One fun factoid is that there is a Crispy statue on top of the town hall building, and no building can be taller than Crispy.
Very true.
Fun little factoid. At Crispy Fest, we're introduced to kind of like a lot of main people that kind of hang around for a bit. We walk through the different vendors. We've got Nancy Pankin, who owns Pankin's Napkins. Sounds like what it is. She sells napkins.
Yeah.
Right next door was La Marque Rouge, a
artisanal ketchup store with owners who pretend they're French. And those two have a lot of beef because they have beef at the Crispy Fest itself, which you can listen to that episode if you want to hear about, but they also are across the street from each other. There was a lot of drama about complimentary napkins given to them by Nancy.
Yep, and then we have a whole bonus episode going through, like, the actual reckoning that they have. Fun times, crazy times. This is also where the lore that Clatfartburgians hate Europeans.
Yeah.
They don't like Europe, and it's like, you don't really know why, but they're just like, I think it's kind of like, oh, you're too fancy, I think was kind of where we landed.
I think it makes
no
not
sense.
like actual xenophobia. It's like,
no,
just
to be
like
clear.
more of like a, oh, okay.
It's like kind of how like you're in Ohio, you're like, ugh, Michigan. You know, you're in Michigan.
It's like how I like
like
British humor, but then I sometimes hear people from the UK talk about how much better they think British humor is than American, and I'm like, can you just take a chill pill?
Yes, it's exactly that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Who else do we get there? We get the blacksmith.
Nancy Pankin's long-term love interest.
Yes,
who we just did an episode focused on. He's a blacksmith. There's not much more to him than that.
Yeah,
not
he's recent. You can go get his whole episode. He doesn't have a first name. It's just blacksmith, and he's played by Balamond of Riften from Skyrim. Just so if you need a visual,
everybody knows. And then the last year's Crispy Fest, there was a lot of drama. Some kids got stuck in some pipes underground. There was the big Crispy banner or balloon or whatever it was got ripped up by the CFB News helicopter. A bunch of predictions went everywhere from the Crispy conjecture tree that we spent way too long talking about in that episode for being the least funny part.
You know. And we've moved on. Isn't that good? And you're introduced to the news reporters.
Genevieve Bargello and Eileen Wurst. Genevieve Bargello has come from the nearest large city because she got kicked off for being a Home and Gardens rep for passing off a sweater from Zara as one she made herself. And now she has exiled to Clatfartburg, and she's trying to make the most of it.
And Eileen Wurst is a local. She's been there forever, and she's kind of an idiot. Not quite an idiot. She's just not good at, like, speaking, which is interesting for somebody who's a news reporter. But she's, like, super Clatfartburg. And Genevieve and Eileen kind of hate each other. It's an interesting dynamic they have. Okay, I think those are the big hits from episode 1. Yeah. Congratulations. We got through that first episode. We recorded it and we decided to record more.
They should be quicker from now on.
First one laid a lot of groundwork. Yeah. These first few lay a lot of groundwork, and then we're going to speed through them. So
Public
no worries
Museum
here.
of Clatfartburg. It's the
This
museum.
is a big one. It's a big one.
So the
here,
Public Museum of Clatfartburg. So there's 3 museum siblings. They are the history. There's a history one. There's an art one, and there's a science one. They correspond to the 3 wings of the Public Museum of Clatfartburg. There's some great things in here. We have the blonde otters.
The blonde otters.
The blonde otters. What was her name?
They are blonde.
Because all I have is Blanche Devereaux.
Yeah. Winifred Blanche, who came to Clatfartburg in like 1932 with this like weird breed
and we said we were
going
to get detailed.
They come up a lot. This is very quick.
No, I was just laughing at you giving the exact year she arrived in.
I feel like I'm reading the plaque. I don't have this in front of me. I just know this in my soul. There's so much brain rot in here. Anyway, they're like weirdly domesticated, but not quite. They have a very nice setup in the science section, so they're not like depressed zoo animals. They're like living it up. They wear outfits sometimes too. So
yeah,
that's the big pull in the science thing, and that's yeah.
In the History Museum, there is a military uniform from the cow wars, the cow battles from the cow army of sometime in the 1800s.
Yeah.
There was an uprising of dairy cows versus the population, and now if you call anybody a coward in Clatfartburg, it's very taboo. You get introduced to Clatfartburg's classic chowder, which is bad, no question. And then there's also a replica or something. I think it's the fountain, actually. It's the fountain of the Great Old Stick, or the Big Old Stick, which was Clatfartburg's first skyscraper, which was tragically burnt down. And the running theory of the time was that a really hot sausage was launched into the building.
Not a sausage on fire, to be clear. It's just really hot.
But actually, this sausage was, believe it or not, a calling card of Bartholomew Alexander / Arkansas, Clatfartburg's greatest thief. And his bust is in the art section of the museum. And in a bonus episode, a mysterious figure went to go and steal the bust of Bartholomew Alexander. They were not successful. They were dressed in a Big B costume, not important. But they left some matches behind, which is ominous because Della Noir, who may or may not be related to Bartholomew Alexander, always made paintings of matches. The plot thickens. Also, the museum siblings have a Big Bang Theory recap podcast. And their daughters,
because they love the Big Bang Theory,
they love the Big Bang Theory, the show. And they thought it was the perfect blend of art, history, and science.
Yeah.
And
it's the only thing they could agree on.
And 2 of their daughters, the cousins, Becky and Harper, do a recap podcast of the recap podcast. And we have multiple episodes of that on our Buy Me a Coffee if you are interested to hear us say bad opinions for 2 hours. Episode 3. This should be quick.
Hunch for Lunch. It is a themed restaurant that is all about mysteries. It's basically an escape room. The menu is coded. If you get it wrong, like it starts tallying up how wrong you are, and that's the tip you offer. You can give tips to get clues. The locks on the bathroom are like locked. You have to figure out like the periodic table, and there's themes throughout
there's
it too.
Also
different like mystery
a really
rooms.
Fun feature where at one point during the meal, all the lights turn off and someone screams, and the first person to find the body gets a free dessert.
Yeah. And there's also collectible figigures
within the food.
And the mashed potatoes called the masked potatoes, and like and all the food, so you can collect them. But it's
and I think technically the name changes at every meal, so it's a hunch for brunch, a hunch for lunch, and then a sinner at dinner. But a hunch for lunch is the one that everyone knows and talks about. So that that's really a hunch for lunch. It's pretty straightforward. Next up is the Trout Scouts. This is Clatfartburg's Boy Scouts. This is also relatively uncomplicated. It's Clatfartburg's Boy Scouts, and they have a lot of fucked up badges.
Yep. You meet Dale Iron Alexander.
Yes.
Who is a sweet boy who's now a young adult. I guess he's a man, but he seems young.
He's in college. He's in college. I would say that the big plot point from that one is that he realizes that his relative, he's been curious, he has a genealogy badge he's earning, and he's like, that's weird. My whatever relative connection, Della Noir, maybe went missing. What? And so Dale Iron Alexander, this begins his quest to figure out the Della Noir mystery. Yeah.
Because he needs to figure it out. And everyone in his family happens to just have metal as their middle names. That's why it's Iron Don't worry about it.
It's no big deal.
It's fine. Oh, the charity hockey match.
All right, so this introduces Clatfartburg's rival town of Faxville. Faxville is a nearby town. It's kind of more industrialized. It's a little more your average suburbia, not as much small business action. But it was the charity hockey match that happens every year between the Faxville Auditors and the Clatfartburg Screech and Whistle Pigs.
Yeah.
I was really happy I remembered that. I wasn't sure. This is like a hardcore memory exam. I feel like I'm like kind of gaining brain power while I do this.
I know.
In this competition, so many rules happen. I believe there's something where a prospector walks on the ice and everyone must stop moving until the prospector is finished. And that was
basically
they were bad because I didn't know much about hockey, so I just kind of spitballed.
Oh, it was hilarious. And the charity game is supposed to be like not following real rules. This is like a silly game. So that's why it's very chaotic.
But there was a lot of drama.
I think Faxville
because Faxville bribed one of the referees, which I believe were strapped up to the ceiling like bats.
Oh my god, I need to re-listen to that episode. I forgot how crazy that was.
And then it like turned into a whole like there were state troopers trying to get them down, like the New York, like the Mounties from Canada, trying to calm down the crowd.
Because we don't want to have the police come in, but it was just like whoever we needed to calm down.
Like
people were
rangers calming people down. Faxville won at the time, but Clatfartburg, it was ruled eventually, did end up winning because Faxville paid off the refs. There was also some drama there. Genevieve had an old flame on the Faxville team. Very dramatic.
Super. Okay. The SS Clatfartbarge River Tour. Oh boy. You get to meet Herbert Barge, a lovable and yet very, very chatty riverboat tour owner who is very into he's a history buff. He writes his own little like local history books. He also loves to play his banjo and has multiple albums. He's released most famously his single A Lake at My Wake. He is known for his riverboat tour going too fast. The boat moves too damn fast. You can't keep up. Background, he used to be a journalist for CFB News, but there was a period of time where they didn't actually use like camera visuals. They just basically put words up on a screen because Clatfartburg was behind the times. So he was back then, and that's just kind of sparked his interest in history.
The biggest lore here introduced in this episode, though, here is Sinaster, who is the spirit of a horse who lives under a bridge in Clatfartburg. And he always is seen as an omen for something bad happening. So if you hear Sinaster's hooves over the hills, and we do reveal in a bonus episode, he is a mini pony. I don't know. I think he's a Shetland pony. I don't know if we ever revealed that on the main feed, but Sinaster is a Shetland pony for the record. We did do an episode all about Sinaster's history and background and the drama with him. So if you're really interested in Sinaster lore, we do have that.
The evil, ominous ghost horse.
Yeah. Next is the Clatfartburg Community College. This is where we get introduced to Elijah Pankin, who does actually now come back later. We use him kind of as a avatar to go through the community college. The community college in Clatfartburg is pretty nice.
And he's Nancy's nephew.
Nancy's nephew, not son. Lots of great stuff going on here. It is a community college, but they do have like a themed design unit, which is actually like pretty elite. It's actually pretty fucking cool. There's a course in slipperology, which is basically just doing a lot of banana peel pranks. There's a jingles and slogans major, I believe, because that's quite in high demand here. And there's one teacher who I think is trying to teach geology, but it's actually like a ruse for them to work on his clay stop motion project that he's been working on for 15 years.
Yeah. I think
Arthur Remington. Why did I know that?
Arthur Remington. Because we talked about him recently randomly.
Because I think we were like, who the fuck is Arthur Remington?
I was like, wait, who? What? It's always spooky when like, there's a name like, I don't know who that is. Because I feel like it's like
some characters get mind wiped from us, which means they probably weren't funny enough to stick around.
Or it's like, what are we going to do with a claymation professor? Maybe one day he comes back. Yeah. Who's to say? But for our needs, he's currently just living his life. Notably, the blacksmith runs Key Club at the Clatfartburg Community College, which is not your usual Key Club of let's do service. It is actually a blacksmith competition where people have to create keys to unlock boxes. It's basically live blacksmith metalwork and like all this stuff. It's really intense. And I believe there's also a book club that talks about jarred like preservative food that also doubles as a boxcar children book club.
The Clatfartburg shopping mall. This one's set in the 80s, and honestly, not a ton of stuff from this comes back.
Hibachi
is pretty good. That's hibachi for the man on the go, which is like hibachi but in a speed situation and like behind a deli counter, basically.
Very stressful, very messy.
But
it's not around anymore. I think there's one remaining at the airport, which we'll get to.
Yes,
if I recall.
But
yeah,
there was Skylar Cloud and the Rainbows, where Elaine wrote a full, almost hyperpop song called I Want to Be Famous, which did really screw up the timeline, but I loved it. It did. And yeah, there's a bunch of weird little stores in there if you want to check it out. But oh my god, Leon Neon! On top of in one of the domes of the museum, there's a little guy made out of neon who announces the times every 15 minutes and will make announcements about missing children. I just really like Neon Leon, and I want to remind you.
There's also a giant glockenspiel in there.
We never got back to that.
We never did, and it honestly seems like the most mysterious thing, and I'm happy letting it rot there.
Now, something that has really got some legs is the Clatfartburg Botanical Garden. So this was a botanical garden that like is kind of shitty. The middle area, great. If you don't go beyond the middle, it gets rough. Once you start going beyond the middle,
it's owned by a used car business.
Yeah, and here's the problem. Turns out they bought it because the land had oil underneath it. And they were fracking secretly fracking. Isn't it? There was a fight. So like the big, what's that called? Greenhouse, like the greenhouse in the back that has all the plants.
Yes.
There was a big fight and they wanted to alphabetize it. So the plants were in alphabetical order, but there became a whole discussion about this. And eventually I believe it all just became the P building because they're all plants.
Yes.
And there was one guy who I believe his name is Ignacio Pissdog.
Yes.
Pizzstog, to be so clear. That's established in the bonus episode. He is really mad when dogs pee on things. So he has a plant that's specifically there for one dog to pee on, and his name is Henry Pissdog. But he's peed on this plant so many times, and he eats such a broad variety of things throughout this botanical garden that he has developed some sort of mutation piss that grows... Doesn't it that it grows weed?
He peed on a weed bush and created his own strain that was amazing.
Yeah.
So there's like a little... the Pissdog strain. Yes.
So there's a bonus episode on this as well, which is the documentary, because Herbert Barge's son, Bottacini Barge, is doing
my bad.
Documentary. That's on Elaine.
That name's my bad. That's my bad.
I have some to apologize for later, but that one's on her.
Yes.
Is doing a documentary on the place called Liquid Gold to expose their undoings. And this place does get taken down. So,
and it's told from Henry Pissdog's point of view, basically.
And they strap a GoPro to him because they're trying to... I think the way they get away with that is that they're teaching him how to skateboard. So he has to get used to wearing it.
I forgot that one.
And isn't it he takes down the fracking operation by pissing on key gears and electrical material?
I'm pretty sure it's something stupid like that. Highly recommend listening to it. That one goes all over the place.
Yeah. All right. The UFO/Alien Club. I feel like we call it Alien
10.
Club. We've hit less than halfway.
Woo! Yeah, UFO Club, Alien Club, it's basically interchangeable at this point. They are the organizers of the Frisbee Golf, which I'm pretty sure is like...
Ultimate Frisbee Odyssey.
Ultimate Frisbee Odyssey. They are mostly consistent of people who have a lot of money, because there are like 3 different tiers of this group. Not like tiers, but kinds of people who join this group. There's a daily dinner you can attend.
Yeah, there's events every night.
Every night. There's a little galaxy pin you can wear. There's cloaks. You can also dress up as an alien. Notably, the blacksmith is part of Alien Club. It's his dirty little secret, and he dressed up as Glooby. It's his Glooby.
Now, there's also an element of this where improv groups throughout the community join Alien Club as a sort of hazing ritual. Because they need to be able to pass through the test to get into Alien Club. It's not a cult. It's just like they're a restrictive club. It's more like, I don't know if the Masons are a cult. I don't know enough about this. I'm going to stop talking.
They want to keep it a safe space.
They want to keep it a safe
space. People
be
alien, like anti.
So people come in and try to blend in with Alien Club, and it's like the ultimate improv exercise. Except Alien Club knows this is happening and kind of indulges them, but then like a lot of people accidentally get really into it. Yeah, I mean that's most of Alien Club.
Feasting Hayes,
Feast and Hay Richington is somebody
and
who's
Aliana Grande. And they come up a little bit,
not too much. Yeah, Feast and Hay Richington. I don't even remember where he was introduced. Was that in a bonus episode?
I think that was a bonus episode.
Okay, there's an Alien Club comet viewing party. Feast and Hay Richington is played by young Jude Law, just so you know, and then there's his drag queen girlfriend named Aliana Grande. That's all you need to know there.
Go. Oh God, this one. Episode 11,
New Smite Distillery, Tavern, Tap House, Christmas Tree Farm, and Absinthe and Lavender Farm.
I think the title speaks for itself.
There was a place called the Old Smythe Distillery, and a new member of the family who's been out of town for a while came back. They were from Silicon Valley and decided they really wanted to innovate on the Old Smythe Distillery and turn it into something new. So they're like, what if we made sparkling absinthe? Sparkling Spanish moss absinthe, to be specific. And people get so drunk on this shit. But New Smythe Distillery is weird because they have a lot of money coming from outside Clatfartburg, and it's weird enough that Clatfartburgians tolerate it, but they don't love it. And there is a national commercial with Natalie Portman for this business.
I forgot about that.
There's a lot of taxidermy, and people start seeing things in them. They start hallucinating.
Oh, yeah.
I remember at one point I tried to propose a bike path between the town and this place, and then realized that was drunk driving, but different. So we cut that.
There's a bus. There's a direct bus
There's
route.
a bus. And it's a nice event space. Lots of events are held there. So, you have anything else? I don't.
It's also a lavender farm.
It's
What
also
else
a
can you
lavender
say?
farm and a Christmas
And
tree
a Christmas tree farm. So there you go. Oh, the public library.
This is how we justify our bullshit.
Yeah. The public library, they have a crazy fabulous summer reading program that basically you go on an actual quest and you walk through. Was it a forest
I think
or a
the
castle?
quest is separate. I listened to this relatively recently because I couldn't remember much of it. Sometimes I just listen to a random episode and it helps because you kind of have to keep abreast of it, unfortunately, as the person who makes it. There is a guy who is employed to do a quest within the building, and he runs between different places and operates different puppets that you talk to. It's like an in the library quest. But there is I believe there's a fake forest and a fake kitchen. So books on trees are in the oven and books on ovens are in the tree.
Right.
Naturally, as one would.
Right.
There's also a lot of posters of Jim Parsons at this library. There's 12 different Reed posters of Jim Parsons, and he's kind of become a local legend because of it.
And he visits
the town,
which we'll get to. It is also established that in the basement of the library there is an animatronic
warehouse
where
people are able to rent them for a small fee, and that's what supports this town's bullshit. Okay,
because Hunch for Lunch has a lot of animatronics as well.
The world.
I believe that's where we started. We were like, Hunch for Lunch has a lot of animatronics, we need more, let's do it. So yes, you can check them out. That's important for later.
Barnacle Crispin's Ghost Tour.
Ooh.
So we wanted to make a ghost tour, and we decided there would be a subsidiary. Herbert Barch technically owns this ghost tour, but it's hosted by a man named Barnacle Crispin. Now, who's Barnacle Crispin? Well, you'll find out eventually in this recap, but Barnacle Crispin, as we know him in this episode, is a man in a diver suit. A full diver suit that he walks around and wears.
Old-fashioned scuba suit. Old-fashioned the weird metal shit going on.
And he does post on TikTok thirst traps with the diver's helmet and does pole dancing. That's a note for everyone.
Yeah.
He's really obsessed with objects and animals being haunted. So, for example, there's a doll shop, and at one point, there's a haunted doll that sweeps the floor, and people are like, oh, is that of the man that died there? He says, no, that's the doll is haunting the doll. That's a lot of his thing. He's very into, if there's a wind that blows, he's like, there's a building with air conditioning that used to be here. I feel it. And he makes a big performance of it. Now, I think this is our first, we didn't mention him, but Cole Papageno. Yeah. Cole Papageno is a kind of recurring, if we ever need a bartender, Cole Papageno is there. Cole Papageno was introduced in a bonus episode of a descendant of another member of Bartholomew Alexander's gang. Again, Clatfartburg's greatest thief.
Which I will say, a listener and I don't know if we ever said this, but they referred to them as the Sausage Gang.
We called them the Mystery Meat Gang.
Okay, Mystery Meat Gang. Oh, there it is. Yes, okay. So part of the Mystery Meat Gang.
Part of the Mystery Meat Gang. We did say that. So Cole Papageno is a descendant of Arsent Papageno who betrayed the team. And Cole and Dale are best friends and maybe lovers. They are lovers. They have become lovers over the story.
But right now, they're just
really close friends with complicated feelings about their past.
Yeah.
But Cole Papageno works on this ghost tour, and I think Dale is there with him too in this episode to try and figure things out because they think Barnacle Crispin must know something because he's fucking weird.
Mm-hmm. About the Delanoir stuff.
About the Delanoir stuff, and they're going on they're sleuthing a little bit. They're hunting. They're finding clues. Mm-hmm. The end of the ghost tour ends with Barnacle Crispin walking into a community pool underwater for multiple minutes and then running off into the woods. That's how the tour ends every night, and I believe he got fined by the YMCA or something.
Yes, that sounds right. The mayoral election 24. Everybody, all the listeners got to vote for their mayor. We had Victoria Tory Cobbleton and Mrs. Parsnips. Parsnips. I never remember if it was plural or not.
Yeah, I think it was Mrs. Parsnip.
Mrs. Parsnip was like
she was an
children's
TV show entertainer, and she's kind of mad that her shit didn't go as buck wild as Crispy has. So, she's like, what about Petra the Potato Cat? Have we thought about Petra the Potato Cat, who I used to do? But she's really good at bringing people together through her children's book. She's good at public speaking, but really only to children. So you get that tone a lot. And now she's vice mayor because she lost to Victoria Tory Cobbleton. And that's what happens when you lose as mayor. You become vice mayor.
They follow the really, really original rules of the United States of America, where if you lost, you became vice president. But yes, Victoria Tory Cobbleton won. Her whole platform is It's About Time. She is a clockmaker from a clockmaking family. Her big platform was about this invasive bird species that's taken over Clatfartburg. They poop incessantly to the point that they've broken the clock downtown. That's just an ongoing thing happening in the background of everything. I think that's the big takeaway. Tori's she's mayor.
The thing in the woods of which we do not speak is introduced here. You need to.
That's right. The big thing was Victoria Tory Cobbleton was like, it's about time we talk about the thing in the woods. It has been illegal to talk about the thing in the woods for many years. In fact, there was actually a law stated that if someone talked about it, you can either get a slap in the face or a slap on the hand. And then you had to go, as a mind eraser.
Yeah, that was really stupid, but that is true.
It was one of those laws that like weirdly stuck around, and it was like, why is this still here? This makes no sense, but no one's bothered to get rid of it. But it basically, all we know at this point is that there is something in the woods that no one's allowed to access, no one knows about. Few people have like gone to it and come back with like these weird horror stories and stuff, but nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah,
don't worry, we'll get to it. But that's the big. It's like Tori's like, I'm over this. We need to know what's going on. Let's figure it out.
Next is the Crispy Leaf Harvest Fest. This was a fall fest hosted at New Smythe Distillery, Tavern, Tap House, Christmas Tree Farm, and Absinthe and Lavender Farm, which I'm impressed I was able to say that. It was fairy themed for some reason. Genevieve and Eileen were hosting. And for some reason, the Jim Parsons animatronic was here because there was a Jim Parsons animatronic that was made, which when Jim Parsons visited, he took it on a book tour, but now it's back. And the animatronic was dubbed the Fairy King, but then they made everybody remove those videos on TikTok because they thought it might be deemed homophobic.
Because Clatfartburg had invited influencers.
Yes, and it went poorly.
It went very bad.
But the drama happened where Barnacle Crispin, I believe, was on run from the law for filling up the pool out of season. And Jim Parsons' animatronic was in one of those red wagons, so he grabbed onto the wagon and went away into the woods towards the area of the thing of which we do not speak. And Genevieve and Eileen were there, and they got stuck in a corn maze trying to find him. And there was a lot of drama there. There was a lot of drama because I think Eileen's younger sister or stepsister, who's in the Trout Scouts, has the knowledge to save them, but who does she save? Because she kind of idolizes Eileen. This is too much detail. You get it in the episode. But Eileen and Genevieve realize they are going to have to go after big wagon in the woods. But I actually think they regroup and come back the next day in lore. So nobody does it right then.
But don't worry, it's a recap. We're immediately going to the next episode. The thing in the woods.
So there is a team established to find the Jim Parsons animatronic. Bring him home.
That's right. I forgot about that.
It's a hunt. You have Victoria Tory Cobbleton. I think Eileen Worst is definitely there. And then you have Dale Iron Alexander and Cole Papageno. And this is the episode where they are dubbed the Gay Hardy Boys by Elaine by accident. And now they're stuck with that forever. So the Gay Hardy Boys are there to solve the mystery, and we follow them as they go down the right path and see some, I think, Barnacle Crispin footprints or the Baby Bell cheese he eats on the tour weirdly at one point. And they find that is a lore. He eats Baby Bell cheese on the tour.
Fucking wild.
And they come across a parking lot with lots of cars with nobody in the cars, but they're new and they're nice. And then they move
there's
around.
A Starbucks in there, which notably in Clatfartburg, no chain restaurants or any like stores are allowed. They are very much like none of that is allowed. So to see a Starbucks cup is
ominous. They make it around, and it's like there's like a cage for like a person at the front of the building, and they're like, oh my god, what's that? What could be in there? And they open the doors. Is this a theater? It's the Faxville Repertory Playhouse that was built out of, and there was a law against it because of competition with the local theater community, I believe, and some drama. This place is fully accessible, and many Clatfartburgians have been to this location. They just didn't realize it was the thing in the woods. You're allowed to talk about the Faxville Repertory Playhouse, but you're not allowed to say the Faxville Repertory Playhouse is the thing in the woods. And this is a huge bombshell to finally like lift it off and say, no, this is the thing in the woods. We know now. And they go on stage and they watch. They're watching a performance of empty chairs and empty tables. And they're like, who is that? And Cole's like, I think that's Barnacle Crispin, who I worked with every day. And meanwhile, Eileen went in through a back door and is playing a corpse on the floor.
Yeah.
Victoria Tori Cobbleton sees her grandfather's clock among the set. That makes her very emotional. And then Dale and Cole kiss and everyone applauds.
Clatfartburg's public transportation... I mean, honestly, not too much. I mean, you can listen to it to hear about the buses and stuff, all the things we made.
Yeah. There's,
I think Bertha LaCouscous
came up because she was a performance artist, and she is dating Barnacle Crispin. She is a mime. That's about all you need to know about Bertha LaCouscous. There's also vending machines where people, you can just see the hands and it's people inside them.
Christmas! Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. There is a tradition where when you gift items to each other, you must put them in grain. I forget why. You could listen to the episode,
but they go in bags of grain.
They do it each year. They choose like color of the year, the Pantone color of the year, basically.
But grain.
And yeah, and it was like some kind of pink this year, which fit in perfectly with, for some reason, the Christmas Binky the shrimp.
Yeah,
will
because
fly down the clock tower. I think the Christmas clock tower.
Well, because he's the reindeer equivalent, because Crispy is Crispy Claus. And this is just a community event. This is kind of an overview. We go back to different places we've already seen, see what are they doing? What's their Christmas celebration? I think there's a whole thing where, like, if you give 10% to charity, then you're allowed to use the Crispmas branding, was, I think.
Oh, that's right.
What we came up with. I think that's mostly Christmas. Binky the Christmas shrimp is the best thing. Ooh, the Misty Brook Cove Kingdom Retirement Community. This is... Do you ever... Hey, if you were a kid in the 2000s and you lived on the East Coast and you saw those commercials for Great Wolf Lodge about their magic thing with the wands... What if that was a retirement community? Hi, I'm here to welcome you to the Misty Brook Cove Retirement Community, where seniors can roleplay like it's the Renaissance every day. There's a swamp building. There's a pirate building. I don't know. There's a lot of buildings, and one of them, everyone has a lot of sex, I remember.
I forgot about that. There's always an ongoing plot each year. There's a big theme, and then basically it's supposed to encourage the people staying there to keep their mind active by doing puzzles and stuff to help see if they can defeat the big bad by the end of the year. So you basically get to role play. It's almost like if a Renaissance fair got to like just keep going. You can choose to wear costumes or not. There's a section too if you really want to not be as involved with that. But I think that's like the big overarching like.
There's Peg Leg Pete's PT for physical therapy. Building A is the Enchanted Forest with an A. Forgot about that. Building B is Bogs and Swamps. Building C is Pirate Themed and the Swingers one. And Building D is the Dukes and Duchesses domiciles. And there's annual games where the buildings compete. But yeah, it's kind of a way to get stubborn people to care for themselves, which is honestly quite sweet, and I would like to go.
Oh, the airport! The Faxville Clatfartburg Airport. This was just a fun little way to dip into both Faxville and Clatfartburg history. I would say main takeaways. Gwambi is a brand of bags.
Yeah.
That's from Faxville. People secretly love Gwambi and Clatfartburg, but, you know, it's Faxville. But it does get mentioned, I think, one more time in the podcast. So if you hear Gwambi, that's what that is.
There's one flight to Italy, one international flight, and it only goes to Italy from the decrepit terminal. That's all you need to know there. Pretty straightforward. Yeehaw! Episode 21 is the Boat Warehouse. Now, this is built by the black sheep of the museum family, which is, I think, something Clementine. I don't know if I have her name on here.
Dubois.
Clementine Dubois. So she works near the boot warehouse. I might just read the description that I've got on this spreadsheet now that I have it pulled up because it's pretty good. Located in the Tanger outlets, but closer to Clatfartburg, this is run by Madame Clementine Dubois. The warehouse includes a boot trial section that's the size of a mini golf course, including mud trials, stomping, etc., which is followed by a Build-A-Bear experience for boots. Revolutionary scent section to make your feet smell good. Sales are going on constantly. One where someone zip lines across the store and drops a coupon. How many boots can you fit in a boot? There's a basement that activists probably meet in, apparently, and a sound section where you can make your boots make a sound with each step.
Don't know if we establish it in that episode, but just important while we're talking about her is that her son is Bradley Dubois, who is the third cousin with Becky and Harper, and he's the producer of their podcast.
Otter, she better know.
So, yeah, Becky and Harper also work at this boot warehouse so that they can get gossip.
Yeah.
And also Clementine wants gossip from them, basically because that part of the family doesn't talk to each other, but they need something for their podcast. So it's a hot mess. The dog park was, shockingly, we allowed Austin Butler to officially be part of the canon.
Because they invited him for a showing of Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, and he got lost and stuck in the bar for dogs for like a day, still talking like Elvis. And I think that's pretty much it. It's the dog park is like a replica of Clatfartburg to a certain extent. It's a mini replica. There's also a dog ballet that they're working on. And I think that there's somebody who thinks the dog should only speak in German, I believe.
Yeah, there's a trainer, and the trainer is dating somebody. I forget who they were. It's like an ex, but it was somebody.
There's a lot of drama there.
There was a lot of drama. But yeah, I think that's... Henry Pissdog has his own
Janet Skagg.
section.
She's the ex of Mrs. Parsnip.
There it is.
She's in an enemies to lovers relationship with her dog, who believes dogs only with her, not her dog. Oh my god, she's in an enemies to lovers relationship with her assistant, who believes dogs only speak German. There you go.
Right. Oh boy. Okay, a classic. How Kermit Hastings found his shimmer.
Kermit Hastings is the manager of the Widgeon Hotel, which is actually like an upscale Clatfartburg establishment, but he's kind of going through a crisis. He's like, how do I innovate and keep this place interesting to the locals? Because the locals think it's kind of boring. But some people like that the Widgeon, is an escape from Clatfartburg's overly themedness. And
he also doesn't go by his first name.
No,
Kermit.
He goes by Mitty. Because Kermit, there's a lot of associations with Kermit and he needs to be taken seriously. Yeah. So his name is Mitty. And he has made a mistake because his niece's wedding and the annual slime conference has been scheduled in the same event on the same day. And he has to figure out, how do I make these two events work? And now I need this money. How do I make this go off without a hitch? Because he can't lose either of them. So he finds an innovative way to combine the slime with the wedding by proposing something called Shimmer, which is just slime but wedding themed. And he really makes it work. And then he has an emotional moment where he realizes he does have power and value while Frank Sinatra's cover of It's Not That Easy Being Green plays. And he accepts that he is Kermit.
He's reunited with his old flame at the very end, Missy.
Yeah.
Wearing her little pink dress. The archaeological dig. Honestly, I don't think there's anything like too long lasting that's necessary.
I mean, the Gwyneth Bean alarm clock was pretty cool. There was a
Gwyneth Bean. There was a Captain. I never remember her name.
I don't remember.
But there was a lesbian pirate who haunted the lake and had a lesbian lover, and she had two snakes on either of her shoulders. It was called Bone and Storm, and Herbert Barge wants to write the
novel
fantasy story about it.
Yeah, there's Gwyneth Bean, who was an alarm clock that was a green bean with glasses and a mustache and a little cane. And he was the mascot of a local diner. I feel like that's pretty much it. Was there anything? Yeah. No, there wasn't. There was
the roach wind clacker. Some people have wind chimes that are just roaches to ward them off.
Just so you know.
Just so you know. The Beautification Association Lawn Awards, Edgar's Family Values. Clatfartburg has a lawn
association
award to see what's the most beautiful. We go through all the different lawns and we focus on, there's one with a professor who's like set everything up basically to be Pride and Prejudice different scenes. There's a couple others. You can go listen to the episode, I say. Mr. Edgar's where we're introduced to the Edgar's family, which is basically a very broken family. Mr. Eggers hates his son and uses his whole submission to basically rat on his son. He wants to be Mr. Rogers.
Which his grandson is notably filming.
Yes, his grandson is filming this, and just telling him lies about, or Mr. Eggers is telling him lies about his son, basically, and is just kind of an awful person. Mrs. Eggers, meanwhile, they're not separated. Or they're not divorced, but they are separated.
Yeah.
She is submitted to the Lawn Awards. She wins. Notably, the son of the Edgars family likes to zip line a lot illegally.
Yeah, and he built his zip line from his apartment to the local grocery store, which was very dramatic. There was a lot of problems.
It took a lot. It was like a water tower was involved. But he had won the previous year because he built a tree house in his apartment. And people were like, oh, that's cool and interesting. But then people were like, actually, tree houses don't count as lawn. So Mr. Eggers actually wanting to get this lawn award. He got it because his son lost it. There's a lot of drama there.
Lots.
That's why it ended up becoming the Edgar's family values. And then CFB News. We talk more about Eileen, Genevieve, and the people who work at the news. Eric is the cameraman. He and Eileen are officially dating now. Genevieve gets drunk in a trunk.
She brought the girl from the hockey team to the event. Did not work out. Did not work out.
It was complicated.
Some things are left best in the past.
Yeah, I think. Oh, and the weatherman, they can't keep a weatherman to save themselves.
Keep a weatherman
constantly
to save
going
their
through them.
life.
They're awful. Oh, almost everyone in town has been the weatherman at some point. And then that brings us to the blacksmith's forge. We just talk about the blacksmith. He builds a cool gate, and he's in love with Nancy Pankin. And Elijah Pankin is his apprentice.
They are working at an artist residency, a pizza artist residency at the Misty Brook Cove Retirement Community Kingdom. They are sharing the tent with the legendary Flippini. Elijah Pankin is so distracted by the beautiful swirls of mozzarella being placed on the pizza that he accidentally sets the tent on fire. And while trying to save the items, he notices a pizza almost falls to the floor, and this reveals that he has pizza senses and must open up his own pizza restaurant, which leads to the later creation of Pankin's personal pan pizzas. Or PPPPs.
Anyway, thank you so much. That was a whole year of Clatfartburg. You got the plot points. You're ready to go. Up next, and or before or around, it's going to be Crispy Fest. A new year begins, new chaos, and all the fun that comes with it. Thank you so much for listening.
And giving us a chance. Learning.
Yeah,
learning.
truly.
Sitting down.
Thank you.
Listening to us yell at you for an hour about niche lore.
If you want to yell at us, you can email us at clatfartburg@gmail.com.
You can say, that helped me not at all. I still don't understand, and that's okay.
It's fair. It might have brought up even more questions than answers for some of you who listened to it and then happily forgot certain parts, and now we're going, well, that doesn't make sense, and the answer is correct. We are also on Instagram at Clatfartburg, and we mentioned some bonus episodes. You can access those at Buy Me a Coffee at clatfartburg.com. You can get the monthly membership or get it a la carte.
We always share the important plot points that happen on Buy Me a Coffee. We're not trying to gatekeep like actual plot. It's just the details. The details. That's what's over there.
So there's Gay Hardy Boys mysteries. There's, I think we mentioned the Nancy Pankin, Lamarck Rouge. There's a bunch of stuff. We also have movie commentary tracks. And we've been doing that since the Wonka Watch days.
There's
so you get
a lot of them. There's
plethora.
like almost 30 of them, which is crazy. And I think about how many and how long we've done it. That's crazy to me.
Wild. So there's a lot if you feel
there's
interested.
A huge backlog now. So if you want to check it out. So
have fun. But anyway, thank you so much for visiting, and we're going to gently send you on the bus with a nice little snack so that you can stop at the next episode. And you're caught up now. Congratulations! Ta-ta!
Bye!